Hello and welcome to Joy News Desk. Coming up, after the deadly El-Wak stampede that claimed 6 lives, the Ghana Armed Forces is restarting recruitment, but with major changes. 8 new screening centers, tighter controls, and a bid to prevent another tragedy. We have details. So coming up, a dawn attack at the Quail Palace and the Queen Mother kidnapped. We have details coming up shortly. Also, over 100 workers laid off as ratification of Ghana's first lithium mining project delays for 2 years. We have details as chiefs vow not to forgive Parliament if it fails to pass the deal before 2025 ends.
Ma oman so yede yetumi akoyim so dem yemi na ombado so ombado na ma oma youth ni so yede ye bre.
These plus business updates with me, Mami C. Nyameche Thompson. We'll be right back. Let's start from the Ghana Armed Forces, and they've announced the resumption of its suspended recruitment exercise in the Greater Accra region a week after a deadly stampede at the El-Wak Sports Stadium left 6 applicants dead and dozens injured. In a statement, the Ghana Armed Forces say the exercise will resume with significant modifications to prevent a recurrence of the tragic incident. Under the new arrangement, screening will be decentralized across 8 sub-centers instead of concentrating thousands of applicants at a single location. Well, the locations include graphics, El-Wak Stadium. There will be 2 centers at the El-Wak Stadium. All Greater Accra potential recruits are hereby informed that the Ghana Armed Forces recruitment exercise within the Greater Accra region, which was suspended last week, resumes on Thursday, 20th November. And this is a statement from the Ghana Armed Forces. And the centers are El-Wak Stadium. There will be 2 centers there. Also, the Nicholson Park, Burma Camp, which also have 2 centers. The Air Force Base, Burma Camp, as well, will have a center there for the potential recruits. Then also training and doctrine command at Teshi. That will also have 2 centers, and also Eastern Naval Command in Atema. Well, according to the Ghana Armed Forces, applicants will now report in batches of 600, and each person will receive an SMS directing them to a specific date, time, and center. The Armed Forces are also urging applicants to check the online recruitment portal for updated information. Families and friends have been cautioned not to accompany applicants, as non-applicants will not be allowed into the screening centers, a move aimed at reducing congestion. And joining me now is Veronica Ahin. She is the Acting Director General for the Public Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces. For more on this, we're grateful for your time, Veronica. Well, after the tragic incident that resulted in deaths, what would you say were the key failures identified, and how have they directly informed these new measures that you've taken?
Thank you very much. Good morning to your viewers, and thank you very much. Before I say anything, I believe that following the tragic incident, any opportunity to speak to the public, it's important that we extend our condolences to the bereaved families. We also apologize for the tragic incident. And on behalf of the Minister for Defense, the Military High Command, and the entire Ghana Armed Forces, we apologize for the incident. And even before the BOI that has been set comes up, we have put in place measures to address this incident. I must say that the government sent a delegation from the Ministry of Gender, the Minister for Gender, the Deputy Minister for Defense, of which I was a part of the entourage, have visited all 6 families of the bereaved, and government has assured them of support. And the armed forces also ready to do its bit to support the families. So thank you once again for the opportunity. Now to your question. Yes. The BOI, the Board of Inquiry, is yet to come out with its findings.
Okay.
It will therefore be preemptive to try to identify any lapses for now. And so we'd rather wait for the Board of Inquiry to come out with their findings, and based on that, I can mention specific things, or we can discuss specific aspects of the process. So I would rather request that we hold on for now till the Board of Inquiry is out with its findings. Thank you.
So you've now decentralized the screening into 8 sub-centers. Practically, how will this reduce overcrowding, and what systems are in place to ensure each center can at least handle the numbers there safely?
Thank you. So per the release, we are going to invite the applicants, giving specific dates and specific venues, and they will be invited in the numbers of not more than 600, in fact, 600. And so looking at all the venues we have mentioned, they can easily take that. So there will be no overcrowding at all. So we have put in place these measures to ensure that overcrowding does not occur. Aside that, we have also upped the security at all these centers to ensure that non-applicants are not allowed in to increase the numbers at the centers. So that is what we have done so far.
Well, you've also said that friends and family or non-applicants can come. How are you going to ensure that they adhere to that, measure?
I think it is in the interest of the families and friends and all of us to ensure that the applicants go through this process peacefully and safely. And so what we have done is that we have beefed up. The military police will be there. More personnel have been brought on board, and will not allow anybody. We would want to appeal to the general public to help us do this process as seamless as possible. We need their children and their friends to be safe. And so we'd rather appeal to them not to come. We wouldn't want to be seen using force or trying to arrest anybody. In fact, the Ghana Armed Forces need these applicants. And so we'll have to do everything possible to ensure that they go through the process seamlessly. And that is why we are appealing to the families or non-applicant not to come, because the military police will be there in their numbers, other personnel will be there in their numbers, and we will not allow anybody, and we mean nobody, will be allowed in. And so the general public is accordingly advised to stay at home and allow the process to go on as planned.
Well, the last incident, the last process, we saw some of your men, the conduct of your men supposedly using whips on potential recruits. Some of them left the place anxious, afraid and somewhat fearful. This time around, even though the centers have been expanded to about 8 sub-centers, what measures are you putting in place to ensure that these anxious potential recruits will not be fearful when they're coming into these centers? What conduct will we expect from officers put in these places?
Thank you so much. The armed forces believes in doing the right thing once you are told to do so. And so whilst the camera is on us to comport ourselves, we have put in place those measures, and personnel will comport themselves. But the applicant must also learn to comport themselves. When we ask them to sit, we expect them to sit. Until you are called, you are expected to sit wherever has been dedicated to you. And so we appeal to the applicants to obey simple instructions. In fact, the press release has stressed it. We expect them to obey strictly the instructions that will be given out. Anybody who misconduct him or herself will be thrown out, and that is automatic disqualification. So whilst we will do our bit to ensure that we handle them humanely, we expect nothing from them than strict adherence to the instructions that will be given out to them when they come.
Any last words from you?
Thank you so much. Yes. Whilst we await the board of inquiry findings, let me state that the Ghana Armed Forces has done this recruit over and over now, over the years. And we have always put in place measures to ensure security and to ensure that the program runs seamlessly. As to what happened this year is something we are all battling to understand. And so even before the findings come out, we have decided to now spread out the way we have indicated in the press release. We believe that with the findings will come out better way of doing it. Let me say that the process we used has served us over the years without any problem. And so unfortunately, if this happened, it means that it is time for us to review the way we do things. And even before the board of inquiry comes out, we have taken that steps. Aside Accra, we have also taken steps to expand the venues for the enlistment. So we have now added the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology Stadium in addition to the Baba Yara Stadium to make sure that there is more space for the applicant to do their work. Let me also stress that we applied or we advertised because we need this applicant. And so we'll do everything within our power to make sure that going forward, the processes run smoothly without any challenges. Thank you so much for your platform and thank you for the interview.
Thank you, Captain Veronica Ahin. She's Acting Director General Public Affairs for the Ghana Armed Forces. Well, still in this conversation, I have potential recruits also joining us on this. I'm grateful for your time on our desk. Well, you've heard that from the Acting Director General of Public Affairs on the new modifications done to the recruitment process. At least they've expanded to 8 sub-centers, and then they're going to accommodate 600 applicants at a time. Does this satisfy you being potential recruits? Kindly unmute and speak to us. So we're still trying to get the reaction of some potential recruits on this. They're joining us via Zoom. But while we wait for them to come in, the 6 hopeful applicants who were pursuing the dream of serving in the Ghana Armed Forces had their lives cut short in last Wednesday's tragic incident. Their sudden demise has plunged their families and entire communities into mourning, forced government to suspend that exercise. Well, these determined young Ghanaians each charting a path towards a career in the military. Their dreams, however, were never realized. And Fatal Bayaga has more on their profiles.
Yvonne Amarton was among the 6 young applicants who tragically lost their lives in the El-Wak Stadium stampede during a military recruitment exercise on November 12. The only daughter of a mother and one of 2 children, Yvonne was a level 300 building technology student at the Accra Technical University. Another victim, 23-year-old Presla Nyamalo, lived at Kaswa Crossroads. The second of 4 siblings, Presla worked at the Kaswa branch of the Consolidated Bank Ghana. A few minutes drive from Presla's home is the residence of 25-year-old Peace Kotivi, who also died in the stampede. Peace, the third of 4 siblings, was a hair braider who supported her family through her craft. In Omanjo Jenohu, grave engulfed the home of 26-year-old Presla Yaira Kale, a former student of Pram Pram Senior High School. She worked as an accountant for the local Pentecostal church. Yaira leaves behind 3 siblings. In Enyanmim in the central region, the community was thrown into deep sorrow over the death of 21-year-old Priscilla Labi, a 2022 graduate of T.I. Ahmadiyya Senior High School in Akumfi. Priscilla was the eldest of 4 siblings. The final victim, 24-year-old Matilda Midosi, from Kong also died in the stampede. Her family, like the others, has been left shattered by the sudden loss. Together, these 6 young women, full of promise and pursuing their dream of serving their nation, had their lives cut short in a tragedy that has sparked national grief and calls for urgent reforms in the recruitment process. For Joy News, Fatau Bayaga, Accra.
Well, joining me now is security analyst Professor Kwesi Enin. We're grateful for your time, sir. And I'd like to know from you, from a security management perspective, how significant is the shift from a single screening center to 8 sub-centers in preventing chaos?
Well, it's a very significant shift. But let me first start by expressing my deepest condolences to the families who lost these 4 young or 6 young women. It is extremely needless death. But it reflects a deeper malaise in our society. Our unwillingness and incapability to create jobs, the speed with which we suddenly find solutions to problems that could and ought to have been prevented long ago. But finally, also, a near national catastrophe in punishing people who fail in their official duties in preventing the loss of life and property. This occurrence can tip this country in dangerous ways if it is not handled properly. And we handle it in a business as usual manner. So this is a cautionary tale to those who ought to have acted responsibly and those who ought to prevent such an occurrence ever happening. There are too many failures to protect the lives of Ghanaians. And fanciful excuses always given and explanations. I think we are getting to a tipping point where people will say enough is enough.
Well, Prof, the officials, more or less, there's an investigation ongoing now. But if somebody should be blamed for this, in what way should they be held accountable for the failures that contributed to the deadly stampede?
You know, crowd control and riot control are the things that this country does not know how to do. If you take the Ghana Police Service, and luckily enough, they were not part of the crisis at El-Wak. The Ghana Police Service has been studied about the way they manage crowds. And all the reports are available. I think these lessons learned are never shared. Because after the disastrous Accra Stadium case, I think it was in 2006, lessons around crowd control and the accounting base. What that means is the number of people who can be put in a space in a responsible, defensible manner probably was not shared. I'm trying to be calm here because any responsible person with this as a duty or part of his duty roster should know from the last 5 years the incremental numbers of young people seeking any job at all, as to whether they like it or not is not the matter. We've seen it when I think sex has sought to recruit, when the Ghana Immigration Service has sought to recruit. So the state and the Republic of Ghana have failed its own youth, taking it for granted that I am the provider of jobs, and therefore, whatever circumstances I create for you to come search for that job, it's your business. That is not how governance is done. We have a duty of care in asking people to come and work and sacrifice for the state and put their lives at risk, that we provide an enabling environment, dignified, respectful, for those people to apply. Okay, there are videos running around about the way people were being shouted at, threatened, abused. Okay. You want to wear the uniform and serve the Republic of Ghana. So yes, a committee of inquiry. But I think it will be quite good. I don't know the composition, but I'm hoping there are people from outside the Ghana Armed Forces institution. I hope there are some psychologists there. I hope there are people who are good at crowd management. You see, because the posture of those individuals who were talking to these young men, screaming at them, threatening them, was that, you should even count yourself lucky that you are here. Hell no. They were coming and were ready to serve the Republic of Ghana, and we should be grateful that people want to do that. We are not the other favor saying that we are ready to pay up. So identified, singled out, and if this committee of inquiry finds adverse or makes adverse conclusions and findings, then the law must take its course. I know I've said this before during the Ashaman riots and the brutalities meted out to people and the extensive threats that I had from the Ghana Armed Forces. They can threaten me again for saying this, but it cannot be business as usual. And no steps are being taken, and probably we have a different leadership with a different approach to people management and to crowd control. But let me take this opportunity to thank those officers during the Ashaman riots and my comments who risked everything to protect me those days. So talking about these things comes at a price, but we will keep on talking because we cannot continue to lose lives. So let's wait and read the report of the committee and subject it to critical interrogation. But 6 lives.
Prof, just before you go, I mean, government has also suggested that the injured be automatically enlisted into the army when they. What do you make of that proposition?
So next time I'm going to take an exam and I slip and fall, then I should be passed? I mean, what kind of country is this? Okay, the fact that an institution failed in establishing appropriate mechanisms and processes that are protective of the applicants doesn't mean that those who failed or those who got hurt in the process must automatically be recruited. Look, we've got to disentangle our emotions from decisions that must be rational, logically based, and inures to the benefit of the institution and the Republic of Ghana. This was a free choice. The Republic of Ghana did not pick them up involuntarily to El-Wak Stadium, got them hit, and discarded them. No. This was a voluntary decision. Yes, an institution failed. The people in the institution should be punished, but that does not make it a quid pro quo that, well, I got hit applying to come to your institution, and therefore, it doesn't work that way. So please, those who are making these emotive arguments, leave them at your doorstep. We want a strong institution, a functional institution, responsive to our challenges. Let's get the best and the right. And I think the interventions that are being done internally and the conversations. Look, finally, let me share this. The Ghana Armed Forces as an institution, like all institutions, is also making efforts to respond to its own internal stresses, to be able to deal with the challenges and the threats outside of that institution. And I can say without any shadow of doubt that typical of all other institutions, it is a difficult uphill battle, changing institutional cultures and modes of thinking and behaving. But it will get there in the shorter space of time than in the longer term.
Thank you so much, Professor Kwesi, for joining us on our decks this one. Really appreciate your time. And just before we end this conversation, potential recruits are also joining this. And we're grateful that you joined us. Let's try once again that we can hear you. So at least Ghana Armed Forces have modified the recruitment process. What do you make of the changes they've made so far? Kindly unmute and speak to us. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Good morning to everyone listening to you. And I would say the change that they've made, they've done, it's going to help us a lot. It's going to help a lot. It's going to help reduce the crowd and all that.
So yes, you are coming from where to this place?
Well, I'm in Accra. Accra, Mamprobi.
Okay, so you are not that far away, right?
No.
Have you received any message where you know you would be on this attempt to get you into the service?
Not yet. I checked this morning, but I still haven't received any message yet.
Oh, okay. But you're satisfied with the current changes that have been made to the process?
Yes, because that was what I was expecting from the beginning, that it would be done that way. So as it's now being implemented, I'm very glad. Right.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. We're grateful for your time this morning. And moving away from the Ghana Armed Forces recruitment process, armed men stormed the palace of the paramount chief of the Kwewu Traditional Council at Abene around 4 a.m. this dawn, attacking the premises and reportedly kidnapping the Kwewu Hima Nana Adjoa Jemfua. According to reports, there were gunshots from inside the palace before the Queen Mother was taken, along with an official Toyota Land Cruiser of the Kwewu Hine, which tracking shows is headed towards the crowd. But both the Nkoko and Kwewu Divisional Police Commands, we're yet to hear from them on this operation. But joining me this morning is Adom News' Dramina, who is in the area. Kwesi Dramina, we're grateful for your time. What are you learning about this incident?
Okay, good morning. This morning, around 4 a.m., we received information that an unknown gunman has taken over the Abene Chief Palace. And through exchange of guns by the security men at the palace and unknown person, some of the security men at the palace have been injured and has been taken to hospital for treatment.
Okay.
The Queen Mother of the Kwahu traditional area, Nana Adua Jemfua III, and Dasebre Akua Mwabuati III have been allegedly kidnapped.
Okay.
According to information, an unconfirmed report, all the chiefs are in the National Police Headquarters, Accra.
I see. So you say some people were injured in the scuffle this dawn. Do we know how many?
For now, we can't confirm.
Okay.
We can't confirm, but there are many.
Oh, okay. So what do you know about the police investigating this or intervening in the issue?
According to the situation, the police are taking over the community, that is Abene Township. But for now, a lot of people have started fleeing from the town because they are afraid of another attack by another group.
Okay. All right. Kwesi, thank you for that update. We'll definitely come back to you when there's more development in this story. Moving on, we won't forgive them. That's the warning from Ewoya chiefs in lithium mining. If lithium mining doesn't resume soon after a revised agreement was laid in Parliament. A 2-year ratification delay led to over 100 workers with the exploration company laid off. Among those affected is Justice Agri, whose daughter's college education has been put on hold because he cannot afford her fees. Emmanuel Jivenu has more in the second episode of our series, Hope on Pause, the Lithium Promise.
Hello, Abene. Oh, we are friends. Team time over friend. Yeah, cool. See.
Justice Agri is one of more than 100 workers laid off, casualties of Parliament's delay in rectifying the El-Wak lithium project. He is a father of 8, and the collapse of this job is the collapse of his entire household. Before he was sent home, Justice had risen from roadside weeding to become a semi-skilled technician, a job that gave him pride, stability, and a new sense of who he was becoming.
I don't know me. I have been doing me. This is the man na ba. I do am doing there. It ma kufum. Na musumi ya. Ejuma for Friday. Aye.
It was the first time Justice earned enough to dream. His pay rose, and with it, the hope of a better life for his family.
From many way jeep papa. See, ejuma no obado no. Obado ye no. Obia ni waje. Bia the inje papa there. Sisi ya central hanamo no. Bibia in hanamo. Say ye koyine koyino. Ejuma bia in hanamo. This no obahama. But
2 years without parliamentary approval brought all that progress to a standstill.
I basa ye prode obasan ama ma oman so ye de yetumi akoyim so da me na ombado so ombado na ma oma youth ni so ye de ye bre ankasa.
I'm Sarah Agri. I'm 20 years old and Mr. Justice Agri is my father. He told us that they said they should come home, they will go again. They will start the work around somewhere 2025, but still the work is not. So they are still at home.
Every day Justice stays home, waiting for a call that never comes, is another day for her daughter's hope for college drift further away.
I completed school around 2023. Then because of money, financial issues, I couldn't further my education. But he's willing to take me to school when the work that they've told them they will come and start when it comes to me. I'll be going back to school.
Across the traditional areas hosting the project, community leaders say the delay are deepening frustration and hardship.
I cannot even describe the extent of my disappointment. It is very sad. In Ghana here today, such opportunity which has given chance to some people to be employed, and one day you are asked to go home because the ratification is not given. In fact, it increases the burden of families and government as a whole, and it is very serious issue that must be looked at.
If I tell you, people who come to knock at our doors for money, you will be marveled. You get much better. When people below you get better. The situation now is that people below me are suffering. So they rather come to me with their troubles, medical bills, this. But I am aware if the turntable turns and they get employment, they will rather come to me, Nana, take this.
In Krampakrom, a trained technician of 8 years is back to the charcoal business he thought he had left behind.
There crying on my Mikata, you're Mikatamba. Says I make us a more friend, no, Miss Shabby day. I tell you, my train you go and Messi. And Sana, may be crowd to 2 books or some Mankara. Says man, my young to our mean yes, you can 2 books Mankara do from school. Mean yes, you come for home. Into our some young Casa, may bomb a bland or some more how I miss I day. I shan't call Amadou Mabano.
It man the bashes in the choir many. Oba boyen and fancy man to tell me about making a headman of a woman. No namaduma, maybe Shani na Ubiashing waji because more you, Bosum are not tourist Kaka man Majano, Madabo Bushia, Bushania, Ubiaqua name.
Not everyone has been sent home yet, but for the few still working, survival hangs by a thread.
Yes, sir. And the best item was be here. It may be I'm about to my from John Ampa. Me more Atlantic Lithium. We are monitoring or mining area because of ratification on bad. I'm a say you man akufo. Akufo is a don't be brave. Atiada wofi. This year I'm paying for be brave crack coffee. By me living here, I'm doing cry. I'm not crying on my mother. The be younger kind cry. Because of ratification of Banty, yes, Rabbi there. Bob one may be 1. Yes, we need to waste best in your money be a job.
From 162 workers down to 62, more than 100 jobs gone. Atlantic Lithium employed geologists, lab technicians, drivers, electricians, and other support staff. But Parliament's delay in rectifying the mining lease forced operation to scale back. At the time the lease was signed, global lithium price was about $3,000 per ton. Today, they have dropped sharply to around $850, raising fresh concerns about the project's economic viability. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofeboa has now laid a revised agreement before Parliament 2 years after the project was first announced. This comes amid a renewed push by government to secure approval after an earlier attempt in the 8th Parliament failed to win the needed endorsement.
3 key areas has been looked at: the royalty rate adjustment, VAT deferral on capital inputs, and sub-on transshipment facility feasibility. These 3 areas were new areas that has been factored, and that called for us to look at the new lease. The new lease has been negotiated, sent to Cabinet for approval, and we are here in Parliament to get ratification in accordance with Article 268 of the 1992 Constitution. I accordingly refer the mining lease agreement, which is referred to as new, to the Committee on Lands and Forestry for consideration and report to the House.
We will not forgive them if they defer it again. My understanding is that with the processes it has passed, there shouldn't be any hula baloo about it.
The El-Wak Lithium project promised 800 direct jobs, at least 2,700 indirect jobs, and a new industrial path. Now, that future waits on parliamentary approval.
Here you to the external Oya Abonku, Ewoya, Anuchi, Nkunkua, Ototro Homa, where then Obaji, Hona as where then, why made you know? Yes, no, the Ombo Diara, Unhuya Mobo. In Henry Semishra, in his madam, on Domihan. Now, yes, we the baby engineer, and ma, yes, we are there, ye bread.
2 years have passed. The machines are quiet. The jobs are gone. And hope sits in limbo. For families like the Agris, ratification of the El-Wak Lithium project must not be politicized. It is their chance to live their dreams again. El-Wak's future, and the futures tied to it, now wait on a single choice. A choice that can restore dignity or confirm another broken promise. Emmanuel Jivano, Joy News, El-Wak, Central Region.
This is Joy News Desk. We take a break and return with business.
Yeah, welcome back. It's time for business. I am Michelle Ajukum. Now, Ghana's weak agricultural systems and slow adoption of modern technology could threaten national food security if urgent steps are not taken. That's the warning from the founder of the Legacy Group Improvement Center, LCIC, Amos Rutherford Izino. Speaking at the center's 10th anniversary, he emphasized that food should be treated as a national security issue, not a political one. There's more in the following report.
From the Ghana Statistical Service indicate that Ghana's food import bill in 2024 reached around 38.95 billion Ghana cedis, up by 12.2 billion Ghana cedis from 2023. Amos Ruta, founder of the Legacy Coral Preservation Center, says Ghana is yet to fully harness its natural resources for sustainable food production.
The smallholder farmers are using seed that are not highly climate resilient variety. So that is what we need to focus. And we as a company, in the last 10 years, our focus will be how to advance climate resilient variety to smallholder farmers in order to produce food that feed all of us. We have not really adopted technology in terms of our agricultural practices, but the time is now catching up with us. I'm not sure the world is waiting for us. The better we adopt it, those technologies in our agriculture. And we cannot build a machine on a weak foundation because our agricultural sector have been very weak. So the foundation that we have is very weak. So sometimes adopting new technologies that become very challenging to us. But the point is that whether we adopt it or we die with it.
He further dismissed reports of widespread post-harvest losses, describing them as politically driven and based on unreliable data. He said rather than politicizing agriculture, the focus should be on building credible value chains that clearly separate the roles of farmers, marketers, and distributors, urging government to create a more supportive regulatory and financial environment, arguing that current interest rates and lending conditions make agribusiness nearly impossible.
I think we need a regulatory environment. I think our regulatory environment is very hostile against the local enterprises, and government have to make a lot of effort to. The kind of financial architecture we have in this country is very, very weak, to say the least. Because you can be a magician to borrow money at 30% interest rate to be able to do agribusiness in this country to make it. So when people say they are doing agribusiness, they are borrowing money at that rate from the bank, it actually does not make any sense to anybody. So if the government, we are not asking the government to give us goodies or free money, no. We just said improve the regulatory environment, improve the financial architecture, because the current financial architecture they have is like enemies to the progress of the smallholder farmers or local enterprises. I think that over the years, government have invested policies toward only the production, not marketing, branding, and network in terms of distribution. And I think when you develop a value chain, a value chain, it should be a chain, not a block. Okay, and the farmer is supposed to be a farmer. Nobody is saying that the farmer should produce the same time, should be the one that sell the seed. That's the point. In elsewhere, when the farmers produce, they end their job. The farmer is not a marketer. The farmer is not a distributor. It's not the duty of the farmer to produce a market and distribute. That's the duty of somebody.
Ghana's leaders now face an urgent task, turning these warnings into action and ensuring the country's farmland feeds its people, not foreign markets. Stephen Mensah's report for Joy News.
Now, stakeholders in the agricultural sector say Ghana's growing food glut can be tackled by empowering the youth to lead in production and value addition. With over 100,000 metric tons of maize and rice from the 2024 harvest still unsold, farmers are frustrated by the limited markets and post-harvest support. Agricultural Project Officer with the World University Service of Canada, Timothy Akapabadai, told Joy Business at the Youth Agri-Innovation Challenge that government must boost investment across the value chain to create sustainable markets linkages and prevent future gluts.
Talking about food gluts, yes, production, this is the peak of the season, but what we are looking at, if we are able to invest into processing, it will reduce post-harvest losses, and it will also get food available for people. So we are talking about food glut now because processing is limited, and the market is, in a way, the products that we are in are perishable as well. So investing into the value chains, for instance, if somebody is into processing of this food, for instance, rice, then we wouldn't be talking about gluts, because if you process the food, then you're able to preserve it right. And then you can roll it out when there are shortages. But currently, we don't have that. The processes are not many, and they are not even available to process all the quantities that have been produced for now.
And that's it for business, but there's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. So here's some stories you find there. Fuel prices set to rise today as OMCs begin new adjustment cycle. So there's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Michelle Ejeku, Mamiesi.
Thank you, Michelle. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of Joy News Today. I am Mamiesi Nyameche Thompson. We'll see you again tomorrow.